What's going on, folks? HeirofCarthage here, and we are back in the Total War Warhammer 2 Archaon, the Ever-Chosen End Times thematic campaign, and we're getting very close to the end. Now, where I'm at here isn't going to look exactly like where I left off. There was a bit of a mishap, folks. It was only partially my fault this time. You see, sometimes, in the past I've muted the microphone. Well, I didn't mute the microphone this time. For whatever reason, my recording software, whenever it loaded, defaulted to the mic in my webcam rather than my Yeti. And I didn't realize it because, of course, when I look at the broadcaster, everything's fine. It's receiving an input, and I see the input moving around, and so, I don't think there's any issue with the mic. Obviously, it doesn't immediately show me which one it is. And when I got done, I saved my game, and I save over it every time. And maybe that's my mistake, instead of saving a new one every time. And I opened the video to go edit it, and the sound sounds like butt, because the people who made this webcam apparently crapped the microphone out of their butt and stuck it in there. It sounded absolutely awful. Unusably bad. It would have been a cheese grater on your ears if I would have put it in there. So it was unusable, and I couldn't load back to it. What did you miss? Unfortunately, I wrecked a whole bunch of dwarf settlements. Now, fortunately, those dwarf settlements I wrecked were easy, and they were all auto-resolved. I fought one battle just so I could have one to fight. The dwarves did not have a stiff resistance anywhere in that entire episode, and I think that I've wiped out all their settlements. I think I have. I know I have, except for one. And they are holed up over here at Karak-Ezor. And I have two armies kind of keeping them in place. Archaon is going to move in for the final kill on Thorgrim and this other loser in the garrison there. In the meantime, I did destroy a few greenskins because they were up here raiding, like right where I was trying to do my work at Karak-Ezor, and it made me mad. So I probably am going to raffle stomp a few greenskin armies, just to get it out of my system. So be prepared for that. It'll be coming. And the greenskins are acting like they're the vampires now and taking over all the stuff that I left open. I'm going to move up here with Archaon, closer to Karak-Ezor. I want his army to be the one to get the final hit on the dwarves. But before we do, folks, guess what? He's back. Terhilius, the chronicler, is back. The storyteller. He's here, folks. So you ready? So it says, previous to the massacre of Barak Var, High King Thorgrim Grudgebearer readied his forces for the coming legions of chaos. Led by feared conquerors such as Sigvald and Patchy, these hordes of armored warriors and monsters had broken the walls of many a dwarven keep, caring little for the bravery or weapons of the defenders. If the garrison of Barak Var wanted to truly stand a chance, they would need to weaken his force of destruction first. Rather than risking the lives of more dwarves, Thorgrim's engineers offered another strategy. Allow the mountains to be our hammer. Right as the forces of chaos crossed the narrow mountain passes, the Royal Engineers detonated half their gunpowder reserve, unleashing a monstrous avalanche upon the Dark Legions. Hidden on the mountaintops, the Chief Engineers stared proudly through his spyglass. Soon enough, the Chaos Horde would be shattered as the great fortress saved. And that would have been the case had it not been for the presence of a certain sorcerer. Landing his dragon before the massed ranks of Chaos Warriors, a mage clad in dark armor rose his hands and began to shout in the tongue of demons. Even from thousands of meters above, the dwarves could hear some of the strange words: patches, balance, cowardly AI. None of these made sense, yet even they could feel the rage in the mage's voice as he unleashed clouds of white upon the wave of snow, evaporating it in the blink of an eye. A low groan fled the chief engineer's lips. They had failed. Later in the burning ruins of Barak Var, he was brought to the presence of that chaos mage. Staring at him, the dwarf could only make one question. How did you do it? How did you stop the avalanche? Behind his helmet, a cruel grin crossed the mage's face. Nothing evaporates snow faster than good old salt. And that is Patchy the Eversalt, folks. Terhilius. He wrote a story for Patchy, Mr. Butthole Mask, the Eversalt of Air, pouring salt out of his butthole mask upon the dwarves, stopping their avalanche. Thank you, Terhilius. That was an awesome story, man. That was an awesome story. And thank you for everybody else who commented. I don't have time to get to them right now, but basically people were just making comments about the lame jokes and some other stuff, so thank you, folks. I'm glad you enjoy it. We will continue. We will continue. As soon as the Burninator and Vardek are healed up a little, there's a couple more greenskins that need a lesson, and then I'm going to do the same with Patchy the Eversalt. I'm actually going to just move forward and then hit an encampment, and then with Patchy, he was traveling with Sigvald, so I'm going to have Sigvald travel with him as well. There we go. Let's level up Sigvald, by the way. And then there are no more dwarf settlements for me to hunt down, but my armies can go busy themselves laying waste to someone else. I suppose I could send all these armies back north just to pound away at greenskins, as the greenskins most likely deserve it. Let's put these skill points. Then we got Jorhul here as a skill point as well. He's still got a place to dump it, so we're going to spread corruption. Let's take a look, see if there's any other skill points other than Appius, whom I can't assign that skill point.
Yes, it is so. Onward to destruction.
Alright, let's take Kolek.
This serves the dark powers. Yes.
Alright, they're all moving north, and Archaon is moving into position to rid himself of the last dwarf settlement. Folks, this must be some kind of bad joke. The greenskins got high on shrooms, apparently, like nightcap shrooms, because they came to attack Archaon. I mean, look at their chances here, but they came and did it anyway. Look at all the black orcs they have. 4 giants. Ah! I wish I could say that this was going to be a fair fight, but rip greenskins. Outnumbered 2 to 1, not much of an issue. Archaon is completely unconcerned as he lures in a bunch of squigs and other greenskin twits. Look at these squig hoppers. Gotta give these goblins some credit. They're extremely brave, but incredibly squishy. And they will be little to stand in the way of a Dark Lord who's been stopped by absolutely nothing. He's gonna be squishing these squigs like they're some form of insect. And the same thing with the goblins who ride atop them. These guys think that they're gonna do some good charging into my infantry. Have fun with that thought. Anyway, my army's gonna charge forward. We got the Reavers of the Night Faith plowing headlong here. There are a lot of black orcs on the battlefield, a whole lot, and there are several giants. One of which is gonna get tied down by the Sons of the Last Plague, actually 2 of which will end up in combat over here. The Sons of the Last Plague will slay giants like no one else's business. Now, I want you all to see some stats real quick. Archaon's over here getting buffed by his own stats and by Appius. He is now rocking 1,700, or hang on, let me see if I can get it here. Archaon, for a brief moment, had 1,700 weapon damage. I missed it, but you can see that there's still 1,600. And I want you to see just how quickly this giant drops to Archaon's attacks. Remember, this is a giant that had thousands and thousands of hit points. He can't put a single hit on Archaon, and Archaon just mows him to the ground. Alright, rest in peace, giant, rest in peace. Now, Archaon still has the Sword of Cain to use, but I have to be careful where I use it because of the number of enemies on the battlefield. There are huge blobs that are taking on my infantry, and some of my infantry are struggling. I don't want to lose the Reapers of Strahov or the Dawe Cleavers, but they are both in a relatively desperate fight just because of sheer numbers stacked against them. This is 4 units of Black Orcs around the Dawe Cleavers, and similar with chariots over here on the Reapers of Strahov. So I unleash the Sword of Cain and its power on the greenskins over here. It obviously causes tremendous damage, but unfortunately also hits some of the Dawe Cleavers. But I guess that's just the price you have to pay when you're working for the Dark Lord. And then I'm going to unleash a Piercing Bolts of Burning right in the middle of this blob, and Archaon is starting to rack up the damage, having cut down an entire giant. The Night Goblin War Boss is ousted by Appius, and then Sextus continues to just plow through loads of enemies here. Archaon's going to come in and continue to support. His power knows absolutely no boundaries at this point in the campaign. And he's practically an unstoppable force by himself, much less with his army. Now, I do think this entire greenskin army could probably stop him. But nonetheless, he's going to take a huge dent out of this army just by himself. There's another giant in front of him. I'm sure he will unlikely to be very concerned about it. More piercing bolts come in and burn the greenskin forces to the ground. Piercing bolts is just a really fantastic ability for him. See here the giant dying very quickly to the units around. It's going to chain route. There's a route started over here, and the leadership is really starting to twist against the greenskins. There are only 7 of the Reapers of Strahov left, and only a handful of the Dawi Cleavers, but look at them fighting on undeterred until their Chaos Roman brothers came to help give them a little relief. They fought valiantly and were happy to go all the way to the death. Their lord will no doubt reward them with the favor of the Dark Gods, as the biggest, artist, and blackest of orcs are pushed back. Folks, 1,600 weapon, or 1,700 plus weapon damage, almost 1,800. Almost 1,800 weapon damage. I don't really know how I didn't get more kills than that, honestly, the way those spells landed, because they were pretty solid. But Archaon, like, took down a giant in a couple of shots. All these black orcs, they didn't have a chance. They just didn't have a chance. Is there any doubt? Alright, Archaon's troops did a little bit of replenishment during that turn. I'm not okay with any of my units, like especially the Dawi Cleavers or the Reapers of Strahov actually dying. So I'm going to see if these greenskins will retreat. I do actually have to fight this. I'm not going to show it, but I'm going to fight it just to make sure that the auto-resolve doesn't kill the Reapers or the Dawi Cleavers. Alright folks, Archaon soloed everything that was left in that army, and the only reason he took any damage was because I used the ability that replenishes the magic faster, increases the Winds of Magic recharge at the cost of damaging your own character. It's possible that they caused a small amount of damage to me, but that's all it would have been, was quite small. Archaon is up to skill point number 58. 58. We got all this stuff on the top, like the Chosen by the Gods. I was thinking that the last ones will open up Lightning Strike. If I remember right, that's kind of what we want to do. And then we'll use that to get there. We can't upgrade Appius, so we're just going to check mark that. We need to head into an encampment with Archaon so his troops can quickly replenish and be ready to go get the dwarves in their last hold. And that's all it really is kind of like a waiting place while they pee their pants, awaiting the coming of the Dark Lord. Easy. Alright, here we go.
This is wide. A glorifying act. Yes. Bring the storm.
Just move Kolek up here. Alright, so the Sun Eater is in position. All those armies are moving north. We don't really need to do anything to the greenskins, but, you know, I just enjoy it. And let's see, we've got other skill points here. Sextus still has a few places to put skill points, though it's not going to be much. Thorgrim's trying to escape, and we have an underway interception, but I'm not going to take the interception because the kill goes to Archaon. So we're going to let Thorgrim escape, and we'll chase him down. He can't run forever. He can't run forever. He can go underground, and he may be able to get a little bit ahead of us, but he can't run forever. I'll use my remaining troops to siege the dwarves in, so Thorgrim may run, but his people won't escape. Alright, we had a hinder replenishment, which I'm not terribly concerned about. I'm going to take Vardek Krom. I'm going to siege Karak Izor. I'm just going to start making siege equipment and continue. And then I'll leave the other army parked here in case we need the extra defense for some reason. Moving Tiro up. And then Archaon is going to continue to chase down the dwarves. Gotta push these green-skinned carcasses out of the way so that I can get through. Alright, that was completely pointless and unacceptable. I'm gonna have to reload and fight this myself so that the auto-resolve doesn't get rid of a unit like that. 2 units. Alright, here's the results whenever I played it. Once again, Archaon absolutely solos the entire army, and the only damage he takes is from the ability to recharge his winds of magic faster. Imagine that. Way to go, auto-resolve. Way to go. CA, please. I mean, literally, I got a lord with that amount of power, and you say that 2 of my chosen who have been around the entire campaign are going to get killed in the fight. For crying out loud. No more. Alright, there we go. Once again, green-skinned carcasses out of my way. Now I can push forward to pursue Thorgrim. I've got to go on a standard march, though, to replenish, and then we will be able to go into a forced march and lay chase to him in full. Like I said, his faction won't be able to go anywhere because I have them pinned, and I'm just going to hold them there. Meanwhile, gonna get a little bit aggro on the greenskins here. Gonna push all these armies forward. Let's hit the encampment for all of them. There we go. This should be for Appius. Alright, here we are on the next turn. I don't know if we can reach Thorgrim, and even if we do, he's likely to run. Yeah, and I can't chase him down anymore on this turn. If he goes underground into the forest, that could be frustrating. So we'll just have to see what kind of move he makes. But Thorgrim's army is falling apart, and Archaon yearns for the opportunity to strike down his foe in battle. His final foe that stands between him and victory. And this cowardly running away is not much appreciated by Archaon, who has slaughtered all and simply wishes for the opportunity to slaughter his final foe. I mean, is it that big of a thing to ask for Thorgrim to just kind of lay down and die? I think it's appropriate. I think it's quite appropriate, actually. Let's see. Sigvald. And then let's take Felman. And Kolek. Okay. Ready to go. Well, folks, under an anonymous mountain, I suppose, or maybe not so anonymous because we saw where it was at, I just can't remember the name of it. Karak-Ezor, I guess, is the region. So under the mountains of Karak-Ezor, Thorgrim is intercepted in his last-ditch effort to run away from the Everchosen. The campaign ends here, in this battle, and Archaon will attempt to take down the High King and his army by himself. Let's watch. Folks, Archaon's hordes that have served him faithfully the entire campaign sit back and watch as their lord rides into single combat glory to a battle that will be remembered forever in the annals of Warhammer, at least I hope. This is Archaon the Everchosen going to solo the High King. We'll see who the real king is here. So this is the High King holed up underground in his last hideout here. He has run, he has fled like a coward, writing in his grudge book. Little good it will do him. He and his entire army stand in the way of Archaon. Now the Grudge Bearer has a 70% ward save and some massive stats that he's put together from a very long campaign. So some of you may think that Archaon will just cut through these guys, but this will be the final challenge for Archaon. Can he defeat this army? If he can, he will surely earn the title of Everchosen. Forever. Everchosen forever. From the Chaos Gods. And the Iron Breakers are pouring it on thick. You can see that Archaon actually suffering a little bit of damage. This is what it takes for him to even suffer some damage. I'm not going to use the Sword of Cain. I'm not going to use Appius to support him. So I am using the Sword of Cain in his hand. I'm not going to use the Vortex ability for the Sword of Cain. Now I know I can, but I decided to make it even that much more challenging, but to prove that Archaon, with his sword in hand, can do this job. And just look at the punishment that Thorgrim can take. You saw what Archaon did to a giant just in the last battle. Look at the punishment that Thorgrim is able to absorb here from Archaon. It's just incredible. Yes, 7,200 hit points. He can't heal, thank goodness, but that's 70% ward save on him. He is significantly resisting all the damage that the Everchosen is laying on him. I think it's funny the dwarves trying to catch Archaon on fire, as if the fire sorcerer would even care. What is frustrating is all these Dawi are making me have to furiously click attack orders on the High King in the hopes that my attacks actually hit the High King, rather than his pitiful minions that are attempting to save him from just one Chaos Lord. Not an entire hall of dwarf warriors can do it. So I'm going to unleash some piercing bolts of burning. Get these guys off my back, if you can call them guys, more like stunted swine. Oh, the Book of Grudges. On fire. Take a look at the damage being dealt. So the damage starting to mount on Thorgrim to the point where his army abandons him. And they, I guess, think it best to go try and engage my army. I'm not going to let them engage my army. I will not fight them. Every one of these dwarves will face the wrath of Archaon. I'm going to bring in another piercing bolts of burning. And remember that there's no support here from Appius or the rest of my troops. Archaon's going to solo the High King and his entire army. You can see that he has really started to pile up a stack of corpses. However, this organ gun is becoming extremely frustrating right now as it's just shooting him in the back. Fortunately, I do have a considerable ward save, but I'm going to get over here and get these guys displaced from their artillery piece, and then finish off the High King, who, when I do turn over here, he does follow me. I'm kind of surprised that he didn't take off running as well. But this gets the artillery temporarily off station, and then I'll be able to get back on focus against the High King. Even destroyed one of their artillery pieces, and I'm going to bring in another piercing bolts of burning. Cause some damage. Just all the damage that I can dish to the dwarves at this point. Look at Thorgrim getting pushed right out of the fight by Archaon, but again, these little nuisance mongers are keeping Archaons busy. I really hate how your lord loses his attack on an enemy lord constantly to fight the infantry around him. I don't know if there's any way for Creative Assembly to fix that, but I wish they would. Where your lord can stay a little more single-minded on the task at hand, because then the enemy lord's able to put hits on him while you have to furiously focus your lord on the task repeatedly. No amount of hammers or iron breakers appear to be ready to actually save their king here, despite their best efforts. At this point, Thorgrim starts to take absolutely critical damage. Again, I'm just clicking away on him, making sure that every attack is focused into the High King. He has pretty decent stats, all things considered, but I mean, just look what he's up against here, so good luck with that. Good luck with that, Thorgrim. He's down to 1,200, now 900 hit points. And then I've got another piercing bolts of burning. It's funny it comes in from the sky, but I mean, we're kind of in a cave, but hey, whatever, it's magic. Don't question. That nicely bottled up unit of iron breakers there gets absolutely shredded. And the High King turns to run with his last pitiful 700 hit points. But there's no way that 4 stunties carrying a fat man on a throne with a Book of Grudges is going to outrun me. So Droghar and Archaon with his Sword of Cain, hot on his heels. And he's going to dish out some intense charge damage and hit him in the back. The High King's last moments are at hand. And as he goes, the only thing that's left is the rest of this Dawi army, which Archaon will attempt to defeat again entirely on his own. The High King falls. The Book of Grudges left the puddle of the king's blood on it. No more grudges will be paid back by the dwarves. Surely his troops will fall apart at this point. I'm having to send Archaon running after the army because he is chasing all my troops into a corner, attempting to engage me. My troops are avoiding them like the dwarf plague. And I am able to get some more of his Some more of Thorgrim's loyal troops here engaged. They're fighting on despite the loss of their lord. I don't know whether to say I'm impressed or just to believe that these Galway have iron for brains at this point. They should have run long ago. Are you not entertained, folks? Look what Archaon can do all by his lonesome here. Now you understand how much power he wields with this entire army. Because he himself is soloing out most of this army. You can see my troops just avoiding at all costs the enemy here. Avoiding them at all cost. Gonna be some satchel charges that come in here. Actually, bombs from the gyro bomber. A whole lot of bombs. Another bomb. And that actually sets off the rampage on the Crimson Rampage. I was pretty unhappy about this, because the dwarves literally did something. I can't stop the Crimson Rampage from fighting here. So that's out of my hands. I will remove them from the fight as soon as I'm able. That's the only fighting that gets done by anybody besides Archaon, I can assure you of that. Archaon's hit points got lowered quite a bit in the battle against Thorgrim. A worthy adversary, I suppose, for the end of the campaign, but his troops are literally doing almost nothing to Archaon, and he is just slicing his way through them. I'm going to fast forward because it's just hit after hit after hit on these stubborn iron breakers. They have huge defense and huge armor. It takes a long time to cut through all these forces. Obviously, I use the piercing bolts of burning every time I get a chance. Look at my troops just running across the map. Everything they can do to not engage the dwarves, and at this point you can tell that the dwarf infantry is just not able to cause any damage to my men. Appius and Sextus are just running away from the gyro bomber, who just really wants to engage them. The stubbornness of dwarves is legendary here. They're getting absolutely KO'd by one, I would say man, but he's more than a man. A chaos god incarnate, perhaps? Yeah, I am impressed. The willingness of these stunties to stand and fight, but that willingness just broke. Archaon soloed Thorgrim and his entire army, and had 2,000 hit points to spare. And that was without the power of the Vortex on the Sword of Cain, folks, and without the help of Appius. So, there you go. That's the power of Archaon the Everchosen. Not with the 70% ward save and his entire army could Thorgrim Grudgebearer save himself from the fury of the Everchosen alone. Folks, have we ever ended a campaign in a more cool way? I mean, I don't think so. I think this is pretty awesome. The ending of the campaign is Archaon striking down his last foe and his entire army solo, by himself. Obviously, there was a little bit of unruliness by the part of the Crimson Rampage. Couldn't help that, but I think we can tell that Archaon had that one well under control, despite having taken a lot of damage early, getting rid of a very stubborn Grudgebearer. And it was good. It was good to see the challenge, even if it came late. The Grudgebearer is dead. His faction is shattered. Their last remnants is here. It's not even worth fighting. They don't even have a good garrison. That's the campaign, folks. That's the campaign. Victory. Victory for chaos. Our foes utterly and entirely defeated. Victory in a world of chaos, a time of heroes, an age of war. You have overcome every challenge laid before you, and faced down every foe bent upon your destruction. This strange and dangerous realm, riven with battle, bloodshed, and slaughter, twisted between sanity and the warping power of chaos, has seen the founding of many a mighty empire, yet yours remains triumphant and unconquered, victorious in defiance of all. This was clearly not written for chaos. Yet your empire is not one of petty territory. Rather, it is the empire of blood and chaos, where, well, okay, maybe they did, where mighty champions rise and fall, striving ceaselessly against each other for the favor of the dark gods. And at their pinnacle you stand, mighty and unvanquished, lord of all, and most favored by the gods of chaos. Folks, an end to an epic campaign. Now, I know some of you said, hey, we want to see you go betray a giant army of the Dark Elves just to have a big fight. I will keep the save file, and I will do that as a separate video. But this is the end of the Archaon, the Ever-Chosen campaign. And what a campaign it was. What a campaign it was. What do you think, folks? I tell you what I would really appreciate is if you all watching this last episode, if you want to help me out, first of all, if you enjoyed it, leave me a like. It helps me a whole lot. Subscribe if you want to see more campaigns. We will do another thematic campaign in the future. I don't know which one yet. And I have a couple of other things to get finished before we get there, so we got some time to think about it. I'll make sure everybody gets to vote. Go in the comments. Leave your favorite moment from the campaign. Leave your favorite moment from the campaign. And if you want to link to it, you can even link to it in that episode. Let's put that together. And then whenever we do the battle, where we go and find the Dark Elves and betray them just for a giant battle, in a separate video, I'll kind of share some of the favorite moments that people had. We can have some fun with it. But I just want to say thank you to every one of you who watched this campaign and enjoyed it. You made this one of my favorite. I very much enjoyed making this. I spent more time on this probably than I have any other campaign I've made before. Every minute of it was worth it. I loved it. Thank you so much for all of the good times, the stories, the comments, the likes, the views, all the good times. Like I said, thank you to everybody. Really appreciate it. Kind of makes me sad, but HeirofCarthage, signing out of the Ever-Chosen campaign. I think we've proved that Archaon is indeed the Ever-Chosen. I'm actually just going to let this play out all the way to the end in case anybody wants to watch it. Folks, there was one last thing I need to splice in here before I just kind of continue where that screen is going. This is the statistics. Unfortunately, they don't capture a number of enemies killed. They just do units, which is really quite sad. But we did get 137 Lord kills, 3,883 units destroyed. But here is the most important statistics. This is our victory statistics. 264 total, 47 land battles, 7 ambush, 130 siege battle victories, 73 minor settlement. Look at the losses, folks. Look at the losses. Not one loss. The Chaos Gods demanded the best, and they got it. Not one loss.